I'm Alex Carter, 39 years old, husband, father, a guy who's always believed in loyalty above everything else. For most of my adult life, I was the man people envied. At least, that's what they told me at barbecues and poker nights. I had a beautiful wife, Madison, who'd been my girl since college. 3 kids who made our house both chaos and heaven. A good career, financial security, a marriage full of laughter, heated debates, and let's be real, a bedroom life that was pretty legendary. If you'd asked me 6 months ago if I thought I'd ever be suspicious of Madison, I'd have laughed. In your face. We weren't just spouses. We were best friends. So when things started to change in March, I didn't notice right away. At first, I chalked it up to stress. Madison was juggling work, our kids' insane schedules, and managing the house while I traveled from my job. Maybe she was just exhausted, but in hindsight, it was there, creeping in at the edges of our life. It started small. A look in her eyes during dinner when she seemed gone, or the way she'd answer my texts with one-word replies instead of our usual silly banter. But the place where the change screamed the loudest was in our bedroom. Madison and I have always been high libido people. 5 times a week wasn't unusual for us, sometimes more. We were adventurous, experimental. We trusted each other enough to try anything. She was the kind of woman who'd whisper fantasies in my ear, pull me into a dark corner at parties, and give me that look that said we'd barely make it home before we tore each other's clothes off. And for years, it was perfect. But that March, I started to notice her body wasn't responding the way it used to. She'd flinch away when I touched her certain places she'd always loved before. She'd push my hands away and say, "Just get on with it." It was like I'd lost the map to her body overnight. The woman who used to melt under my fingertips was suddenly stiff, eyes open, staring at the ceiling while we made love. One Friday night, determined to bring back the spark, I set the mood. I lit candles, put on her favorite playlist, smooth, sensual R&B, and waited for her to come to bed. When she walked in, I felt my pulse spike. She was wearing this pale lavender silk robe that slid over her curves like water. I reached for her, gently pulling her close, pressing soft kisses to her neck. For a few moments, I felt her soften, her fingers clutching at my shirt, her lips finding mine, and then she pulled away. She avoided my eyes and whispered, "Let's just get to it. No teasing. No foreplay. Just a mechanical urgency that felt clinical and cold." That night, we had sex, but I wouldn't call it making love. It was fast, rough, and silent. When we were done, she rolled over, facing the wall. I lay there, staring at the ceiling, listening to the soft hum of the heater and her even breaths as she drifted off to sleep. My chest felt tight. My mind was spinning. For the first time in almost 2 decades, I felt alone in bed with my wife. I tried to tell myself it was nothing, that every couple goes through seasons, that maybe Madison was just tired or preoccupied. But the thing is, I'm not stupid, and I'm not blind. I started watching Madison more closely, studying the small details that most husbands would probably overlook after nearly 2 decades of marriage. And one detail kept slamming into me over and over again: the toy. A few years back, Madison and I introduced a new toy into our bedroom. It was something she'd mentioned wanting to try. A sleek little device that vibrated in ways I honestly couldn't compete with. I'd always been supportive of her exploring her sexuality. Hell, I loved watching her enjoy herself. I'm a firm believer that a woman's pleasure is just as important as mine. But after we brought that toy into our sex life, Madison became hooked, obsessed almost. At first, it was fun, a shared secret, our private indulgence. But gradually, I noticed she couldn't finish without it. My hands, my mouth, my touch. None of it seemed enough. Only that toy could take her over the Edged odd, I accepted it. Adapted. We still had an incredible sex life. I didn't feel threatened until recently, because suddenly, Madison started using it alone. I'd come back from work trips and could practically sense when she'd been using it. The sheets smelled faintly of her perfume. The drawer where we kept it would be ever so slightly misaligned, like someone had checked it and carefully put it back. And every time I returned, the same pattern repeated. She'd seem distant, cold. Our sex would be purely physical, no emotional connection. She'd avoid eye contact. I wanted to believe I was imagining things. But the evidence kept piling up. One Saturday morning, while she was out with our youngest at gymnastics, I checked the drawer. Everything was lined up perfectly, almost too perfectly, like it had been staged. And I found a photo on her phone, time-stamped a few days prior, a photo of the exact layout of the drawer. She'd taken a picture, so she could put everything back in precisely the same place. That punched me right in the gut. That night, after the kids were asleep, I sat beside her on the couch. I tried to keep my voice calm. "Hey, can I ask you something?" I said. She looked up from her phone, her eyes wary. "Sure." "Are you using the toy when I'm not home?" She blinked. "What? No, Alex. I saved that for when we're together." Her voice was sharp. Defensive. "It's fine if you are," I said quickly. "I'm not mad, I feel like something's changed between us, and I want to understand why." "I'm not," she snapped. "God, why are you so paranoid lately? You're making things up in your head." And that's when she said, "Well, maybe I'll just cheat on you." The words dropped between us like a grenade. She'd never said anything like that in 18 years. Not even joking. I stared at her, my heart hammering. "Why would you say that?" I whispered. She folded her arms across her chest, looking away. "I'm just sick of being interrogated all the time." I couldn't even speak. That night, after she went to bed, I sat in the dark living room, the TV flickering on mute. I tried to make sense of the woman who just threatened, even if only in anger, to cheat on me. Something was happening, and I was terrified to find out what it was. After that night, nothing felt real anymore. Madison acted like everything was normal. She joked with the kids, sent me memes, curled up beside me on the couch like she always did. But I couldn't stop hearing her voice in my head. "Well, maybe. I'll just cheat on you." It was like a splinter lodged under my skin. Every smile from her felt forced. Every laugh rang hollow. I tried to shake it off, to believe my wife. But the more I looked, the more cracks I saw. I started noticing her phone habits changing. Madison's never been a tech person. She could barely figure out how to connect her phone to the car's Bluetooth. But now she kept her screen tilted away from me. She'd clutch her phone tight whenever I walked into a room. And then there was the location sharing. For years, we'd shared our locations. Not out of suspicion, but convenience. Picking up the kids, timing dinner, checking how far away we were from home when running errands. It was just part of how we operated as a team, but I started noticing that I couldn't see her location sometimes. It would just vanish. The first time it happened, I thought it was a glitch. The second time, I got suspicious. The fourth time, I knew something was wrong. Each time, it lined up with me being out of town. One evening, I asked her as casually as I could, "Hey, babe, why did our location sharing turn off the other day?" She barely looked up from her phone. "I don't know. Maybe the app glitched, or..." I pushed gently. "Could one of the kids have messed with it on the iPad?" She perked up at that. "Oh, yeah, probably Avery. You know how she's always tapping random buttons. Avery is our 6-year-old. She can open Netflix and play Roblox, but disabling location sharing in the phone settings? That's a multi-step process with passcodes." "No way." I nodded. pretending to accept it. But my gut twisted into knots. It all came to a head with the voice recorder. I work in sales. Sometimes I record meetings or reminders on a small handheld voice recorder. I'd slipped it into the pocket of my gym shorts and forgotten about it. One afternoon, while getting Madison's bag out of her car, it must have fallen out under the passenger seat. I didn't even know it was missing. A few days later, I was sitting at my desk going through old recordings, deleting the ones I didn't need. And then I heard it. At first, it was just the sound of car doors opening and closing, then a shuffle of movement. A female voice, Madison speaking softly, too muffled for me to catch the words. And then I heard a man's moan, loud, deep, raw, followed by unmistakable wet, rhythmic sounds, slurping, soft sucking noises, lips pulling away with a quiet smack. I dropped the recorder. My hands were shaking so hard I nearly fell out of my chair. I must have played it 100 times, hoping I'd hear something else. A laugh, a conversation, anything that would prove. It wasn't what I thought it was, but I knew what those sounds were. I knew them as intimately as my own breath. Madison was supposed to have been working that day. My entire body felt ice cold. I couldn't catch my breath. My vision tunneled until the world went black around the edges. That night, I texted her. My fingers trembled over every word. I found a recording. It sounds sexual. I need you to tell me the truth. She blew up my phone with calls. Came storming home, eyes wild. She refused to listen to the recording. Kept saying, "That's not me. You're imagining things." I begged her, pleaded, but she wouldn't do it. And in the middle of my panic, I accidentally deleted the damn file. Madison let out a huge breath when she realized it was gone. Like someone getting released from a chokehold, she insisted we go away for our planned weekend trip. Sighed we needed time alone, needed to reconnect, and God help me. I went. That weekend away was like living in some twisted dream. Madison insisted we go through with it, even though I was emotionally wrecked from the recorder incident. She booked a cozy inn on the coast, a place we'd loved for anniversaries past. A room with a fireplace, soft linens, and a balcony overlooking the waves. It should have been romantic. It should have been healing. Instead, it felt like she was trying to drown the truth in sex. The first night, she came out of the bathroom wearing nothing but a lace bra and a look in her eyes I hadn't seen in months. She climbed into my lap, kissed me hard, her tongue demanding, fingers threading into my hair. I tried to respond. God knows I wanted to. My body reacted because it's Madison. But my mind kept flashing to that man's voice, to the sounds I'd heard. Still, Madison was relentless. She whispered my name, pulled me down onto the bed, urged me deeper. She clung to me like I was the last life raft in a sinking ocean. It was intense, passionate, almost violent in its urgency. When we were both spent, she curled into my chest, her breath warm on my skin. "I love you so much, Alex," she murmured. "I just want to forget all the bullshit." I didn't say anything. I lay there, staring at the shadows flickering on the ceiling from the fireplace. Because, for me, none of it was gone. The next day, she acted like we were newlyweds again. She held my hand as we strolled along the boardwalk. We ate fresh seafood, took selfies, laughed. From the outside, we were the perfect couple. But every time her phone buzzed, I caught a flicker of fear in her eyes. And then, late at night, after Madison had fallen asleep, I lay awake, scrolling through her Instagram messages while she snored softly beside me. I wasn't proud of myself, but I needed to know. That's when I saw it. A follow request from a guy named Daniel Miller. I recognized the name immediately. He was a coworker at Madison's office. Someone she'd mentioned in passing a few times. The request had come in at 2:03 a.m. on the same night as our massive fight over the recording. My stomach clenched so hard. I thought I puked. The timing was too perfect. I didn't bring it up right away. I kept it to myself, trying to process. But I couldn't let it go. When we got home, I waited until the kids were asleep. Madison was curled up on the couch, scrolling her phone. "Hey, who's Daniel Miller?" I asked. She blinked rapidly. "He works in accounting. Why?" "He sent you a follow request at 2 in the morning, the night we fought." Her face drained of color. Her hands started shaking. "It's nothing," she stammered. "He's probably just trying to follow everyone at work." "At 2 in the morning?" I pressed. She looked like a cornered animal. "Why are you checking my messages, Alex? Why can't you just trust me?" Her voice cracked on the last word. But trust wasn't something I could summon on command anymore. I tried to let it go. I tried to believe the follow request was innocent. But the seeds of doubt had already sprouted into something darker. And then, Father's Day weekend happened. Father's Day weekend should have been simple, sweet. A day for my kids to bombard me with homemade cards and messy pancakes. A day for Madison and me to laugh together about how much parenting had changed us. Instead, it cracked my world open. Even further, I'd been running errands that Saturday morning. Picked up coffee, grabbed some groceries. Came home early, hoping to surprise Madison and the kids. As I walked in, the house felt oddly quiet. I could hear Madison's voice drifting. From upstairs, soft, almost conspiratorial. Curiosity tugged at me. So I crept halfway up the stairs, moving quietly on the carpet, and stopped to listen. And then I heard her say it. "Why are you so swollen? I just saw you read it." I froze, gripping the banister so hard my knuckles went white. Her voice was low but clear. She wasn't on a call. She wasn't FaceTiming anyone. She was talking to herself or to someone who was physically there. My pulse thundered in my ears. I pulled out my phone and hit the record button. I captured her voice saying that sentence again as she repeated it under her breath. It was the final puzzle piece I'd been dreading. That night, after the kids went to bed, I played the audio for Madison. At first, she stared at me blankly. "That's not me," she said, her voice cold. "It is you. I recorded it. Why would you say something like that?" She leapt off the couch. "You're sick, Alex. You're obsessed. You're making things up." Her eyes were wild, darting back and forth as though searching for an escape. "Madison, just listen to it. Please. It's you." "No, I'm done with your paranoia." She lunged for me, grabbed my phone out of my hands before I could react. "Madison, stop!" I shouted, reaching for the phone. But she already had it pressed between her hands, fingers moving frantically. "Give it back." I tried to pry her fingers away, but she twisted out of my grasp, holding it high. "Deleted." She screamed. And, right in front of me, she found the file and deleted it. I stood there, panting, staring at her. "How could you?" My voice came out as barely a whisper. Tears streamed down her face. She looked at me like I was a stranger, because I can't live like this, Alex. I can't live with you spying on me, recording me, accusing me of things I haven't done. She collapsed onto the couch, burying her face in her hands, sobbing so hard her shoulders shook. I hovered there, arms half raised like I might comfort her, but frozen in place. "I just want us back," she wailed between sobs. "Why can't you let it go?" "Because nothing makes sense anymore." I shouted, my own voice cracking. "I hear things. I see things. You've changed, Madison. You're hiding something." She looked up at me then, eyes red, hair falling messily around her face. "I swear to God, Alex, you're destroying us. You're going to make me hate you." That hit me like a physical blow. We sat there for what felt like an hour in suffocating silence. Neither of us moved. Finally, she whispered, "Do you still want to go to therapy?" I swallowed hard. My chest ached like it was splitting open. "I don't know anymore." I said. Madison wiped her eyes, trembling. I want to move forward. I want us, but I can't keep living under a microscope. I stared at the blank TV screen, its black surface reflecting two broken people. My marriage is now a house of glass. Every step feels like it might shatter the floor beneath me. People say that if there's no proof, you should just move on. But how do you move on when the person you love rips the truth out of your hands and erases it forever? I love her. God, help me. I love Madison more than anything. But sometimes I think the woman I fell in love with is already gone.